Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about one of the new promo leaders coming out with set 20 power absorbed, and that is the yellow babidi leader. So AOD is getting a pretty direct buff. It also got buffed with these Zenkai dash packs, so that deck might just be on the up and up altogether. But this leader, I'm actually pretty excited about it because I think it brings some things to the deck that the normal black leader doesn't really do for it. So I'm excited about it. We'll talk about it in the video. If you guys are new here though, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys do want to help support the channel, if you're looking to buy any cards, any trading cards at all, please do feel free to use my link in the description to TCG Player. It really does help me out. No additional cost to you, and I really do appreciate it. Anyways, let's go over the babidi leader here. So we have babidi. When this card attacks, draw one and add one card from your life to your hand. That optional quick awakening that we're used to with AOD. Awaken, your life's at 5 or less, draw one, untap one. I like that a lot because that synergizes super well with blocker negates. In yellow, it would be Frieza army reinforcements. So you're getting to 5, going right down to that level where you get to use your blocker negate, which just makes it the most efficient because, you know, sometimes using a blocker negate from 4 to 3 life feels bad, but it always feels good to use a blocker negate from 5 to 4. It turns your super combos online. That's some really good stuff. All right, babidi, Insidious Reckoning. We have Overlord once per turn. So having base Overlord, we know none of the AOD cards currently really have Servant, but this leader fixes that problem. Permanent, treat Agent of Destruction cards in your Z deck as if they have no specified cost and reduce energy cost and Z energy cost of Agent of Destruction cards in your Z deck by 1. Then we have auto, discard one card from your hand. When this card attacks, draw one. So very similar to the black leader, we're not actually plussing cards when we swing because that leader doesn't draw cards at all. This one does draw a card, but it forces you to pitch a card. However, this will synergize with a lot of the yellow boo cards coming out in the set. We know those cards say when they're pitched by a babidi or a boo, they get to be played. So that's a pretty good way to generate Z energy without actually going minus. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think it might be tough though to play some of those boo cards in this deck. You might just play, I think it's the gray boo that just says when it's played, draw a card, and it also has the ability to be played when you pitch it off a babidi. So that might be one you play 4 copies of just for this, but otherwise I don't think you're playing too much of the boo stuff. Activate main once per turn, choose up 2 of your Majin and or Agent of Destruction cards, and they gain Servant for the turn. So if you don't remember, Servant gives the battle card a 10k buff, but they cannot be restood during your next charge phase. However, this only gives them Servant for the turn, so that actually gets around that downside, whereas going into your next turn, those battle cards no longer have Servant, so they restand. You can also turn one of those Servants into a draw, thanks to Overlord. If you don't remember what Overlord does, it puts a Servant at the bottom of your deck and allows you to draw a card. So overall, really solid leader. The only upside I see to the black leader is that it allows you to free play some battle cards and also cheat in different AOD unisons. Those are pretty good upsides, but I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing with this leader as well as what just being a yellow leader allows you to play. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. All right, then we have SS3 Vegeta, Terrifying Agent of Destruction, a 3-drop 2Z energy battle card, but don't forget babidi's ability to reduce this guy's costs on his awakened side. Dual attack, auto when this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO them. Additionally, when you use this skill to KO a battle card in rest mode, this card gains critical for the turn, and it is a dual attacker. You can also give this thing Servant, making it a 30k dual attack crit that also KO something, ignoring barrier. It's also cool that it's a yellow card that doesn't actually have to choose a rest mode battle card. That's actually super significant. Now, in most other yellow decks, this is going to be a 3 energy play, so it's kind of adequate for the cost. But in the babidi deck in particular, a 2 energy play that does this is very powerful. This is a very strong card, both generically and obviously in this deck. All right, now we go back to some of our good old AOD stuff. So you're probably still playing babidi, Overseer of Destruction, which basically eliminates all the specified cost of your Agents of Destruction, making your rainbow deck viable, and that card is playable from the deck or dropped by the Black Hatchiyak Agent of Destruction. So you still have that consistency there, the ability to play this card out for an energy of any color, and you're also reducing the energy cost of your AODs by 1. So you have a card like Android 13, Exterminating Agent of Destruction, which is one of the best counterplays in the game, to be honest. When we look at different counterplays, we're basically looking at counterplays that counter small things like A13 or maybe like a Beerus Ball or maybe like a Desperate Measures, And then we're looking at cards that counterplay big stuff like Dirty Burst, like God Stealing before it was banned, like Cold Bloodlust, all those kinds of things that KO different ranges of stuff. Android 13 is one of the best cards that counterplays small things like Floodgates, like Riposte, like Oceanus, and it's the best at that because it stops the play of it, puts it in the drop area, and makes your opponent discard a card from their hands. You're getting ultimate value from playing this card in this deck. And again, being a yellow leader, that's a really nice upside because you're backed up by Swift, Retaliation, Cooler, stopping any negate that is really in your way. But as long as your opponent's playing the small Floodgates, this card is incredible. But there are just a lot of really good AOD cards in the theme that I'm a big fan of. Garlic is one of them, lets you play any 15k AOD from your deck, or I guess 2-drop. Most of those are 15k though. But yeah, card I really like. Let's move on though. We have Agent of Destruction, Strike Back. So this is the extra card that the super aggro versions of AOD typically play. You can use it for free when you have the blue babidi on board. You look at top 2 and add 2 Agent of Destruction to your hand. And you can also take a life if you choose to. And this actually has pretty good synergy with Mecha Freezer Robotic Riposte because it's a yellow extra card. However, when I play AOD, I mean, I'm just not like a super crazy aggro player at heart anyway. I like playing more mid-range decks. So I don't think AOD is great, or AOD Destruction Strikes Back is great for any particular mid-range version of the deck. And I think that the yellow leader is going to allow this deck to be played in a much more mid-rangey way, which I'm actually very excited about. And I think to play the deck more mid-rangey, you just wouldn't include just as many AODs. Like for this card to hit 2 at a time, you got to play like 95% of your deck being AOD. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the point. I don't really want to play this card if I have a potential of whiffing. I guess it's still fine if it adds 1 card because at that point it replaces itself, and if you need to take a life, that's also pretty good. But I don't want to take a chance of whiffing in a build that doesn't play as many AODs. But this can definitely fill a purpose if you want to play the super aggressive version and bring your Mecha Freezer Robotic Riposte online. All right, now we have just the yellow stuff you're allowed to play because you're a yellow leader now. This is some of the main upside we have to the black AOD leader. First one I'll go over is Death Blaster. There are just a ton of extra cards you can play because you're a yellow leader, so Death Blaster is one of them. You probably would not play this card in the super aggressive version of the deck. You probably also wouldn't play T-Blow, mostly because you have Android 13 Exterminating Agent of Destruction. However, T-Blow can be good in some scenarios, like if your opponent has a Boo Unison out and they try to Floodgate, having the T-Blow to stop the Floodgate and negate the Boo Unison skills is very powerful, but that might just make it a niche sideboard card at best. But you've got cards like Power of a Super Saiyan, which is a super free way to interrupt your opponent during their turn. You've got Black Kamehameha, which is a great defensive option. So yeah, being a yellow leader gives you lots and lots of options. We've also got, like I talked about before, Swift, Retaliation, Cooler, the ability to just go through any negate that is in your way as long as you can establish a big enough body or enough threats. If you can catch your opponent maybe tapping out for a Floodgate, or maybe trying to use Dormant Potential on you, or some other sort of turn-ending extra card Floodgate, that's where Android 13 is kind of weak. He can't do anything about the extra card Floodgates, and that's where Cooler can pick up the slack since you are a yellow deck. However, you do have to worry about the fact, or I guess pay attention to the fact, that you're playing a rainbow deck and you may be charging lots of different color energy as a result. Remember, only your AOD cards are going to get their specified cost ignored. So if you're playing the super aggro version, you're probably playing mostly AOD cards and then charging a bunch of different colors, so you wouldn't really be able to use a card like Swift, Retaliation, Cooler that costs so much yellow. But if you play a bit more of a mid-rangey build like I'm kind of having in mind right now, you might play something more along the lines where you can charge more yellow and then actually use Cooler and only really play the different AOD cards you're looking to play from your hand and not really charge them. That's just my theory right now. I haven't been able to test this deck because it's not legal for the World's LCQ, which is my next major tournament. So I haven't been able to play too much of set 20 in general, but these are just the ideas that I have, and I wanted to share them with you. But anyways, the final thing we're wrapping up with here is, of course, the ability to play Piccolo Gohan Newfound Might. This is actually like a godsend for an aggro deck, because if you can apply adequate pressure by like turn 2 or turn 3, and having this card to basically force endgame damage through, it's just such a nice thing. Like most yellow decks are trying to use this in like turn 5 and beyond, but in this particular yellow deck, you can actually use it much earlier, assuming your opponent has the required tapped cards. But if you're forcing that, endgame damage, this card is going to be all the better. Like a free 40k in an aggro deck, you can't really get much better than that, to be quite honest. But yeah, guys, that goes over mostly what I wanted to talk about in today's video. Just going over the AOD deck, going over some of the cards you're now able to play because you are a yellow leader, and what that might mean versus the classic black AOD leader that AOD players have had to use since we can pretty much remember. But anyways, guys, I want to know in the comments below, what are you looking forward to with AOD? Is this deck you're going to play? What thoughts do you have for the deck going forward now the leader is so different and you have access to so many different cards? Let me know, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Alright, now that you guys finished watching that video, they should have never banned fucking Child's Wish. They shouldn't. Super Shadow was the best deck in the game. Super Shadow was the best!